Okay, welcome to another live stream, everybody. As folks are coming on, as you're coming on, let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to know where all you viewers are. I love the interaction. I absolutely love it. But boy, eventful day today. So Tulsi and Kash both had their Senate confirmation hearings. If you guys happen to see that, let me know. Does this mic sound funny? It sounded funny in my ear. But anyway. Yeah, just let me know if you guys watched it. I watched all of Cash's, and it was like most of these folks. I tell you what, Trump's picks have been absolutely phenomenal, handling the stress, no flubs, no mess ups, and as you saw in the thumbnail, this is political theater. It really is. It's the Democrats and the Republicans do it too. We're guilty of the same thing. We're trying to get the sound bites and all that sort of stuff, but Trump has picked the folks that can handle this extraordinarily well, and I knew I was going to be impressed with Tulsi. We've been listening to Tulsi on podcasts and all that for a very long time, so I was fairly certain that my mic is. Hang on, I think I might have something going on with this microphone. Let me double check here. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, that wasn't it. I don't know. I've got something going on with it. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. But again, I continue my my trend of every time I do a live stream, something sounds off or something doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Oh, wow. Okay. Hang on. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, let's try that. Oh, so much better. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but boy, I could. So where was I? Oh yeah, Tulsi. So we've been listening to Tulsi for a long time, and we've known that she can handle herself in high pressure situations. We know that she is incredibly articulate, that she's bright, that she's composed, she's calm. Her demeanor is I mean, it's awesome. Like her ability to handle the stress of all of this, being in front of all those folks. And Kash, on the other hand, he's really good. He's incredibly confident, highly confident. But I wondered how they were going to deal with his more inflammatory comments, which he's done. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. He says the things that need to be said, and he says them very directly. And he handled all of it today with, masterfully. It was really, really impressive. But what happens is the Democrats, when they start this political theater and things really start getting weird, it makes them look foolish. And there was a guy that commented on the video yesterday, on yesterday's live stream, made a really good point. He said, you would think that they would know the way they attack Trump's nominees or the way that they act in these hearings, and it's very childish in a lot of ways, but that it discredits them to go so overboard. And it was a wonderful point. It was a wonderful point that, yeah, their behavior, their decorum, all this stuff is just ridiculous. They're I don't know. I can't even really explain it. It's kind of embarrassing for the Democrats. But again, we've got articulate folks like Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK and Kash Patel, and they handle it swimmingly. It was wonderful. So I'm going to play a quick video here because this is a perfect one to open on. And this is from Senator Eric Schmidt, and I want you to listen to this real quick.
But let me tell you what I think's really going on here. What I think's going on here is that the folks on the other side can't actually believe and can't come to grips that they're in this position right now, that they're in the minority and that President Trump is back in office. Because what they did was, after he was out of office, they tried to destroy him. They tried to financially ruin him and his family. They tried to intimidate him. They tried to throw him in jail for the rest of his life. They tried to demonize half the country. Their opening and closing argument for the last 4 years has been that President Trump and Republicans are a threat to democracy. But the American people sat in a jury box and they watched. And they weighed the evidence and they heard all the facts. and they rendered their own verdict. And their verdict was for reform. They don't believe that the people who've been doing this in these positions have done a particularly good job before. They think the deck is stacked against them, and they saw how our justice system was turned against political opponents in a Soviet-style justice system, which moniker was, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And by the way, I don't think they can believe you're sitting where you're sitting at right now. But guess what? You are. And you're going to get confirmed, and you're going to lead this agency back to what it always should have been, which is to protect the American people, to fight crime, to put the bad guys in jail, not to execute a political agenda like some banana republic form of justice where you point to the person on the other side that you want taken out and you go do that person's bidding. This country was founded on the idea that people could say what they wanted, they could believe what they want, and that the government wouldn't come after them. The government's job is not to tell you what you should think or what you can say or what you can do or what you believe. And this Justice Department under Christopher Wray and under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland has done just that. And that's why the trust has plummeted. So you got a big job. You got a big, big job. But I have all the faith in the world in you that you're going to restore that trust because you believe in the rule of law. You have an incredible personal story. You're going to get confirmed. And I wish you all the best. And you have my vote.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay. I couldn't have said it any better myself. But this is true. This is the... and you could hear it in all the conversations. If you guys watched it, so as more folks are coming on, if you watched any of the hearings today, let me know. Just hit me in the comments and let me know which one you watched. Did you watch Tulsi's? Did you watch Cash's? Did you flip back and forth between the two? But the messaging was so overwhelmingly clear that Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, they're talking transparency, law and order, depoliticizing the intel community, removing the politicization of the FBI, fair and impartial justice, all of these things. And the Democrat line all day, at least in Kash Patel's, I only watched snippets of Tulsi's because I assumed that Cash's was going to be a bit more, fiery, I guess. And their message was, the Democrats, do not disrupt what we have. Don't change anything. Don't fire anyone. Don't get rid of anyone. Keep it all the same. Keep it all the same. Keep it all the same. It was this persistent messaging from the left, as they do very well. It was a coordinated message that, we'll see it here in a minute. Can you commit that you will not fire anybody? And they did it to RFK. I talked about it in the live stream yesterday. Will you commit to not firing anyone in HHS? He said, there's 91,000 employees in HHS. I can't run an organization if you're telling me to commit to not firing anybody. They said the same thing about Kash Patel, people who have been involved in these political operations. And he says people will not be subject to political scrutiny. But if you did something for political purposes and it was outside the law or it was outside of the FBI rule book, then yeah, there have to be repercussions to that. The left is going to, when it happens, and hopefully it does, and if anybody can do it, Kash Patel will, but when accountability comes, they're going to say, it is a guarantee that they will say this comes from a political point of view, even though it violates the FBI rule book, even though it violates the law or the Constitution. They're going to pin that political thing on it. That political pin is going to be put on it, and that's what we're going to have to have the presence of mind to say, you know what? No, it's not. This is quite clearly wrong. Let's look at the law. Let's look at what the rules are. Let's look at the Constitution. If they did something like that, yes, they should be fired. Yes, they should be prosecuted, but that doesn't make it political. That's just law and order. And this is what they talked about, the Kash talked about all day today. And it's great to see. I mean, it's honestly, I would say, heartwarming to see an agency like the FBI, who 98% of them are doing the right thing. And he made that point. But yeah, that particular video was one I thought it's a perfect way to open up. The Democrat Party is shocked that they are in this position. Like, how in the world did we get here? How did we get here? I can't believe this. It's unbelievable that we would have a Kash Patel in to be the FBI director. That we would have a Tulsi Gabbard to be the DNI, the head of DNI. that RFK would be heading HHS. I mean, it was, so yeah, they're in shock. I have to show a couple of Babylon Bee because everybody loves the Bee, man. You gotta love the Bee. Nominee for top criminal justice position, interviewed by nation's top criminals. They rarely miss. Like honestly, they rarely miss. But that was one from the Babylon Bee. I got one more here that I'm going to show you. And Democrat senators oppose diversity for one day only. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you've got the first American Samoan woman to, what was she, the first state rep, I believe. You've got Kash Patel. His family fled, persecution in another country, came here legally. They got here legally. And here he is about to run the FBI. Oh, who else is inspired by that? If you're on here and this is something that inspires you, let me know, because I absolutely love to see it. I love it when that message of, the Republicans don't like diversity. But it's not about that. It's about your accomplishments. And we've got accomplished people being that are part of the Republican ticket, that are part of this new movement. Wow. I think it's the Babylon Bee. Good job for them. So the first thing, let's go to this first one. This is it's some RFK. It's a follow-up from RFK stuff. And this came from, let's see, Viva La Fry did the video, but this is part of the testimony. And I didn't see this one, but I saw the clip and I said, I've got to share this one on the stream. RFK calls out Bernie Sanders in front of everybody.
Members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh,
and protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives. They did not come from the executives. They did not come from the executives. They did not come from the executives.
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but
and people have gone through it, and you can find it. All this is most of it's public record. You can find it on Open Secrets and a lot of other places. But Elizabeth Warren, who went hard against him for his stance on vaccines. And it's not that he's against vaccines. He just wants good research. How is that controversial? And that's the way that these folks pitch it is, if you say anything bad about vaccines, and that was another part of what I was saying, they don't fire anybody in HHS. Don't do anything that's going to compromise the big, the pharmaceutical companies, the ones that are giving them millions and millions of dollars. Don't fire anybody in the FBI. Don't fire anybody here. Don't fire anybody there. Don't let this government shrink. It's shrinking too fast already, thanks to Donald Trump and his executive orders. And, these people they're bought and paid for by the pharma industry. And so is the media, by the way. This is a point that is brought up fairly frequently. And I just want to bring it up as a reminder to everybody. But the media is largely funded by Pfizer, by Johnson & Johnson, by, all these various agencies. And there's one, Elizabeth Warren, she was here. This is a video of her. She was worried about him bankrupting Big Pharma. This is what she was saying. I'm going to check this out.
To continue to make money off his anti-vax position. Look, he says he won't go to work for drug companies because the American people have a right to know that the decisions made while he is Secretary of HHS are only for the good of the American people. And yet, he wants to keep a piece of the action on every one of these anti-vax lawsuits. And what that means potentially is, as Secretary of HHS, he can make those lawsuits a whole lot more profitable. In fact, he may have the opportunity to bankrupt the vaccine manufacturers, and then nobody gets vaccine.
Are you worried that he's in the position to serve his own interests?
That is the problem. He has said he will protect his right to make money off the position of Secretary of HHS. That means that every decision he makes could be for the American people or could be just to benefit RFK Jr.
Okay. Again, I'm going to reiterate the argument that she's making here. She says that she asked him yesterday, are you going to go to work for the pharmaceutical companies? And it was really funny because his response was, he said, who, me? Go work for the pharmaceutical companies? yes, I can make the promise I will not go work for the pharmaceutical companies because they can't stand the guy. They fund his, they fund all of his opponents. Anybody who's against him is getting pharma money, just like I was showing you before. Bernie Sanders even was getting it. Elizabeth Warren has gotten over $1 million in pharmaceutical money. And so that she's saying you can't go work for them. And he said, fine, I won't go work for them. But then you also can't go back to your job and go against them. So you can't be for them or against them if you take this position. And that makes no sense, because being in opposition to something, sure, could something he does in HHS maybe impact the pharmaceutical companies? Like, I don't know, make them do more research before they put out a drug for millions and millions of people? I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's going to cost them a lot. It's going to hurt their bottom line. And they've paid good money for Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders to try to make sure that doesn't happen. But, RFK Jr. is a lawyer. That's what he's been doing for 30, 40 years. He's been taking on the pharmaceutical industry. He's been taking on environmental causes because he's a big-time environmentalist. And it's basically saying you need to shut down your law firm for anything that involves pharmaceuticals if you take this job. And that's just ridiculous. That's a ridiculous ask. But in her mind, I guess it makes sense. I don't know. Golly. Now, I don't know. Do you guys remember Nicole Shanahan? It was RFK Jr.'s running mate. She was a big-time lawyer in Silicon Valley. That was kind of her. It was her world before she got into politics. And she's put out a video, and I'll play the video here in a minute. But actually, let me play the video first, and then I'll show you the clip, because the video speaks volumes. And she was sending out tweets to Raphael Warnock and others. But listen to this. This is fantastic.
Hasn't been widely reported, but in 2020, I cut large checks to Chuck Schumer to help Democrats flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia from red to blue. The 2 candidates I helped elect, Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator John Ossoff. Please know I will be watching your votes very closely. I will make it my personal mission that you lose your seats in the Senate if you vote against the future health of America's children. And more than that, I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto, this is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. Big Pharma and Big Ag have exploited us for far too long. It ends now. You're either on the side of transparency and accountability, or you are standing in the way. The choice is yours. Please choose wisely.
I mean, that was a very sweetly worded threat that if you don't get on board with this, then you're out. And we'll make, and I have no problem with that. You know, people, I vilify some of these things like Big Pharma, like Big Ag, these people that have been, the military industrial complex. I come out pretty hard against that. And it's because they're, it's this nefarious intent. Not everybody with money, not everybody with some power to wield has nefarious intent. And we have to be careful about who we, hitch our wagon to, because some people could be manipulating us. It's a lot of cat and mouse and a lot of, there's a lot of risk to it. But we have a big tent now. We really do. We have a big tent, and we're pulling in these what we would normally consider left-wing people. And really they're just classical liberals, or they're, they may be strong on the environment, which we're not, the right is not against the environment in any way. In fact, a lot of us are conservationists. Those of us who are hunters and all that, we're huge conservationists. But, that she said, and right now, Raphael Warnock, which is one of the ones she cut a huge check to, he said, I'm voting no on Mr. Kennedy's nomination to lead HHS. He wouldn't commit to working to prevent healthcare premium spikes and didn't denounce his conspiracy theories about the CDC, which employs thousands of Georgians. I won't support a nominee whose policies hurt Georgians. She said, man, do I regret ever helping you. The only reason you're in that seat is because I sent massive financial support to Sherrod's C4 to mobilize rural Georgia during the 2020 runoff. I'll be correcting that massive mistake ASAP. You're awful. I mean, she's not holding back. Give her credit for that. She is not holding back. But, This is the type of support we need. Elon Musk has said he's going to do the same thing. Elon Musk said, okay, if people aren't on board with the mandate, which is Donald Trump and his popular vote, his electoral college vote, which was huge, or his electoral college win, and if you're not on board with it, if you're going to fight back against the people, the same ones that put them in office, that put Lindsey Graham in office, that put, all these Republicans in office, are the ones that are voting for Trump. And if you're going to defy what and it's not about just Trump, it's about us. It's the people that we want. If we come out in overwhelming support of Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. and Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth and all those folks, yeah, you got to vote for him. Now, Pete Hegseth, obviously, he's made it through. But Pam Bondi is another one. And so we have people outside the system that Trump has put in place. The mandate from the people is there, and if these senators do it, it's simply them trying to preserve the deep state, which is a word that they hate for us to use, but it's true. It's them wanting to preserve the establishment. It's them wanting to safeguard their donors, like big Pharma and Big Ag. But I'm sorry, you're going to have to go with the will of the people on this one, because now we have a lot of money that not we, but certain people have a lot of money that they're willing to pump into primary challengers. Scott Presler came out and I forget who it was. He said that he's willing to help. I think it was in relation to that same post. Nicole Shanahan said, I'm willing to help. How can I help? How can I be of assistance? And this is a guy who flipped Pennsylvania, if you don't know who Scott Presler is. So there you go. Oh, it's just so, everything is so contentious right now. Because the deep state, because the establishment is losing power, and it's happening right in front of them. We have the Senate, we have the House, and we've got the Lisa Murkowskis and people that are gonna. I don't know how these people. I don't understand how they can be Republicans in the first place, or call themselves Republicans, or how they got elected. But nonetheless, we have Lisa Murkowski, and who's the other one? Susan Collins. Rhinos, basically. We have some of the dudes too, but these are two that have been voting against the Trump nominees, siding with the Democrats. And those are the ones that are going to be primaried. They will be primaried, and they won't be in. They're going to get squashed in the next election. And all the better for us, if you ask me. Let's talk about Tulsi. Let's get into the Tulsi situation. This lady, I'm really a Tulsi fan. I was talking to a buddy of mine who he's a Hawaiian dude. He wasn't a huge fan of her. He's one of my military buddies from back in the day, but I really like her. Yes, she's left wing on some stuff, but I'm okay compromising on a few things. Let's listen to this here.
Do you believe, as the chairman of this committee believes, as the vast majority of members?
Oh, wait! Before I get into this, I'm going to tell you. The reason I'm playing this video, because it's this guy humiliates himself, but it's also to kind of explain to you the tone of her entire hearing. This is how the Democrats were treating her. Check this out.
Members of our intelligence agencies believe that Edward Snowden was a traitor to the United States of America.
Senator, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will work with you to make sure that there is not another Snowden-like leak.
Media. It's not a moment to propagate theories, conspiracy theories, or attacks on journalism in the United States. This is when you need to answer the questions of the people whose votes you're asking for to be confirmed as the chief intelligence officer of this nation. As my colleague said, this is not about you. It's about the people that serve the intelligence agencies of the United States.
Oh, grandstanding.
Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question
trying to answer
when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has
your
served
answer,
in
yes
uniform,
or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
As someone who has worn our uniform.
Questions.
So this is the kind of the common tactic, right? When somebody tries to give a complete answer, then they grandstand, and the left does the same thing, but it'll be around something like, are there two genders? A very obvious question with a very obvious answer. in this instance, they're saying, is Edward Snowden and she goes on to explain this later on, is Edward Snowden a traitor? And she said what he did was illegal, and the way he did it was illegal. However, it did uncover, it's a complicated situation, because what he did was uncover a surveillance state that Congress later had to take action on. They had to do something about it. And it's a problem that we're still remedying. But yeah, the surveillance state is a very real thing. Edward Snowden divulged that to the American people. So it's not as simple as yes or no, is he or is he not a traitor? And I think the information that he divulged was incredibly important for the American people to know, that they're collecting data on la-di-da-di everybody. So yeah, I mean, but this is what they do. They ask a question and she starts to answer, and then they interrupt. They ask a question, she starts to answer, and they interrupt over and over. This is another one, Senator Warner. This guy, and by the way, I don't know, Michael Bennett. Was it just me, or did the guy sound drunk? I'm not saying that he is. I'm not saying that he is at all. But I'm just saying several of these folks, they really sounded like it. And it makes me wonder if being in the Senate, if it just smells like a gin joint. I often wonder that. Like, what can you smell the vodka in there, or whatever it is, the gin?
Attention to the egregious civil liberties violations that were occurring at that time.
Ms. Gabbard, Ms. Gabbard, I ask you a question. Please give me the courtesy of responding. You said the reforms now make you supportive. What can you cite? Which reforms?
There are a number of reforms to include getting rid
in the new law, right?
That all of you and your wisdom.
Ms. Gabbard, my time is getting short, but I got to just tell you, after the reforms were passed into law in April of 24, you went on Joe Rogan's podcast in May.
Okay. The reason I showed that one is because it's a second example of asking a question. When she starts to answer, they cut her off. Now, how are they going to respond to this? It'll be today, tomorrow, for the next few weeks, whatever it is. They'll say, she refused to answer our question, or she didn't answer the question to my liking, without ever giving her an opportunity to answer. I mean, Mark Kelly, he this is another example. This one, she actually, she knocked it out of the park on this one. Check this out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel Gabbard, when Russia was denying us use of chemical weapons, they accused the U.S. of supporting terrorists. This is a line that Putin used frequently during the Syrian civil war as he supported Assad. Syrian officials made similar comments. They did it repeatedly. They did it in public. They did it at the United Nations. In 2016, you gave an interview in which you said, and this is a quote, "The U.S. is providing direct and indirect support to terrorist groups in order to overthrow the Syrian government." And in 2019, on the Democratic presidential debate stage, you said of President Trump, this is a quote, "This current president is continuing to betray us. We were supposed to be going after al-Qaeda, but over years now, not only have we not gone after al-Qaeda, our president is supporting al-Qaeda." So I'm interested to hear, what was your goal in saying these things? And did you consider, before saying them, the motives of Iran and Russia, what their motives might have been before making these claims?
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists, it was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families and my brothers and sisters in uniform. When, as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DOD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at, and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like al-Qaeda taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
It shouldn't
is
be.
certainly
And I
not in our
understand, and
interests.
I appreciate.
What a fantastic answer. That's why that's why this lady needs to be in leadership position. She's so unbelievably articulate. She knows her stuff. The forever wars, the regime change wars, this has been a passion of hers. Stopping them has been a passion of hers for a very, very long time, and it's been a huge component of all of her political campaigns. And yeah, this is one reason why she is one of many reasons why she is the right person for the job. She knows her stuff. She knows what's going on around the world, and she's going to, as I believe, offer a bit more transparency to we the people. And when they try to stump her on something like this, yeah, Obama was, and let's not forget, we were up until Donald Trump came into office, we were still sending tens of millions of dollars to the Taliban. Donald Trump comes in office and he starts making demands that the Taliban turn over the $7 billion worth of equipment that's sitting in their country. Of course, they denied and said, no, we're not going to do that. But yeah, we have been directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally funding terrorist organizations, providing, weapons, munitions. I mean, our reach is vast, and we've done some pretty nefarious stuff over the years, but it's because we've had the wrong people. We've had people who are embedded in the deep state, and it's like, no, this is just the way it is. It's got to keep going on like this. And people like Tulsi, people like Pete Hegseth, people like Kash Patel, they'll put their foot in the ground and say, absolutely not. No more. It ends here. It ends now. Of course, with the leadership of Donald Trump. So, yeah, wow. Okay, I'm going to play this next one here. Let me, I didn't put my notes on this clip, so let me see this one. Oh, yeah, okay, here we go. Let me pull it up here. Hey, as you guys are coming, whoa,
and thank you.
Hush. As you guys are coming on, let me know where you guys are listening from. All right. Listen to this.
In no way does Russia get a pass in either your mind or your heart, or in any policy recommendation you would make or not make.
Senator, I'm offended by the question because my sole focus, commitment, and responsibility is about our own nation, our own security, and the interests of the American people. In carrying out the responsibilities of the Director of National Intelligence, if confirmed, no country, group, or individual will get a pass. In my fulfilling that responsibility of providing that full intelligence picture so that you all can make the best informed policy decisions for the safety, security, and freedom of the American people.
Okay. This came up, this was pervasive throughout everything I've seen of this hearing. That she's a puppet of Putin, that she's a puppet of this person, of that person, that she is, what was it? A puppet of Syria, I believe. I mean, there's like all this. Are you going to be pushing forth Russian messaging in what you're doing? Are you going to give a leg up to Russia in all this? And they're dovetailing off of what Hillary Clinton said back when they were running against each other for the presidency. This has been proven to be false. Obviously, she's got a squeaky clean record. She's been through multiple background checks, and it is a squeaky clean record. And yet they still go with that same narrative, that she's a puppet of Putin. I mean, the American people aren't fooled by this, but you have to ask, do these senators actually believe that sort of stuff? because Hillary Clinton said it and because they can't think for themselves, does Mr. Moran really believe that? Or is he intentionally misleading the American people? Because it's got to be one or the other. He's either intentionally misleading people, lying to them because the Democrat Party told him to, or he actually believes something as a sitting senator that has been proven to be false. There's only two options. But she handles it. But yeah, it's the theater. It drives me nuts because I get that they have to do this. I get that they have to do it. But I wish that we could get a little bit more professional decorum inside of the Senate. We had none of it. And I was right in that Kash Patel's was wow. That was where the fireworks were. But I'm going to play something from Senator Mike Lee. This is a great intro to Kash Patel's, and that was a great interaction. But they were talking about the intelligence collection on Americans, and Kash gave a really good answer about this. So check this out.
I've been on this committee the entire time. You were the very first FBI director or FBI director nominee who, when I've asked about this, hasn't said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll handle it okay. We've got good people on the inside. We would never breach the trust of the American people. Do you know what? They were lying. Let's talk about the Fourth Amendment for a moment. The Fourth Amendment tells us that in order for the government to breach your expectation of privacy relative to your person, your home, your papers, if they want to search that, if they want to seize you, they've got to get a warrant. And that warrant has to describe with particularity the persons or places to be searched or to be seized and to connect them up with a showing of probable cause. Now, in the case of FISA 702, we're dealing with a somewhat different universe. Now, moments ago, we heard some discussion about FISA 702, about suddenly we've got a different FISA 702 than what we had when President Trump was last in office. Is that true? Because by my count, FISA 702 has not changed substantively since President Trump was in office last.
That's correct.
Okay. And there was also some back and forth discussion about FISA 702 and the use of it and the fact that in real time, it might not work to get a warrant. This, in my view, misses the point. The concern that the American people have with FISA 702 is not about the real-time collection of communications regarding foreign targets. The concern is that once those communications are stored, you have within them what are referred to as incidentally collected communications of Americans. Text messages, emails, recorded phone calls, and so forth. If they want to go in and search for someone, let's say you, if someone wants to...
I want to make sure everybody got that. What they're talking about is they have a foreign target. They're going after that foreign target. They're collecting on that foreign target, but in the process of that, they're also collecting if it's, internationally or whatever, and they get communications from American citizens is what they're saying.
To go into one of those databases after they've been collected. Let's see if you're unwittingly communicating with somebody who, unbeknownst to you, happens to be an agent of a foreign power or otherwise under surveillance under FISA 702. If they wanted to search for you, they wanted to enter your name, your phone number, your email address, or some other personal electronic identifier, would they have to get a warrant to do that under current law?
Under current law, I believe so, Senator.
Under current law, they routinely access that without getting a warrant. In order to access it, they've got their own internal procedures. They're not supposed to use this for light or transient reasons. They're supposed to have a perfectly good reason, and yet we found that on hundreds of thousands of occasions, they have accessed the private communications of Americans, searching for those individual Americans by name, by number, by email address, whatever it is, without a warrant or anything tantamount to it. On occasion, they've even been used for overtly nefarious reasons. One agent deciding to look in on his father because he suspected his father might be having an extramarital affair. On another occasion, an agent looked at people who were thinking about renting an apartment from him to make sure they were upstanding citizens and could be trusted. Are these appropriate uses of FISA 702?
As you alluded to, the FISA court, it's not me deciding it. The FISA court put out a report in 22 or 23 where 255,000 illegal improper queries of American citizens had occurred. 255,000 reasons why the American people don't trust it. And that's what we must work together, Congress and me, if I'm confirmed as FBI director, restore that trust and protect the mission.
Music to my ears, because I've been a U.S. Senator for 14 years. I've been on this committee the entire time. You are the very first FBI director or FBI director nominee who, when I've asked about this, hasn't said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll handle it okay. We've got good people on the inside. We would never breach the trust of the American people. Do you know what? They were lying. I was willing to believe that they thought they were telling the truth, but they were mistaken. But they were lying. Time has told us that they were lying. You will not lie, and that's why I wholeheartedly support you.
Mike Lee's, dude's awesome. I really like Mike Lee, but no, it's a valid point. It's that people, this assembly line of FBI directors that we've had come through, they say, oh no, the system, we just need to make some little tweaks to the system, or the system's fine. We don't want to mess with the system because it's so important. And Kash Patel says, no, there's over 200,000 reasons, i.e. the misuse of the FISA system, to 200,000 reasons to deliver some transparency and some confidence back to the American people. Typical FBI directors, no FBI director since I've been paying attention to politics has ever answered it that way. They believe in the system. It's all about the system. It's all about preserving the system. We have to preserve the system. And Kash Patel says, no, the system's busted. The American people don't trust the system. So how about we fix it? And we offer a little bit of transparency to them. That's absolute music to my ears. I'm going to interject here with something funny, and then I'll get back to the serious stuff. But it's always good to take a Senator Kennedy break because the guy is an absolute gem. And at least for his humor, he plays honestly a little too nice, I think, in the Senate. But let's listen to this.
Before we go to Lee.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, what do you want?
I love this guy. Mr. Chairman, I'm unlike Senator Tillis. I mean, if we're going to start this, I want an extra 3 minutes.
Well,
now, my friend Senator Klobuchar went 3 minutes over.
So, here what you're saying is the chairman wasn't a very good chairman by not shutting her up. But I've gone through this before, and I think I know how to handle it. And get
I think you're a star-spangled awesome chairman. I just want to say that for the record. But if you're going to let somebody over there go 3 minutes over, I want my extra 3 minutes.
Well, let's see if it's abused by anybody else before we make that decision.
I'm just telling you, I'm going to abuse it.
Well, I'm not going to let you abuse it.
You're a good man, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, gosh. You got to take the lighthearted moments when you can get them. And Senator Kennedy, that's a good thing about having folks like him. He does offer some lighthearted moments. He'll talk about the serious stuff. He's been masterful when it came to all the Biden judicial nominees, asking them basic legal questions because they were obvious DEI hires. And he would ask them these very basic questions and they couldn't answer. And he'd ask them, have you ever taken anything to whatever? He would ask him something very basic. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but and then it just makes him look foolish, and he does it by asking simple questions. So let's see. Let's go to the okay. Here we go. This is what I was talking about earlier. When it comes to firing people, these folks that are bent on preserving the system that they love so much, and the system that we all voted to deliver transparency to. Blumenthal, this is one of them. Let's check this one out.
And thank you for visiting with me in my office at almost exactly the moment that you were talking to me. The Department of Justice was firing more than a dozen lawyers who worked with the special counsel, Jack Smith, simply because they were involved in that case. You've committed that the FBI will not be politicized. So here's your first test. Will you commit that you will not tolerate the firing of the FBI agents who worked with the special counsel's office on these investigations?
Senator, I appreciate the time to visit with you.
It is a yes or no answer, and it is your first test.
Senator, Every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments.
And I'm not going to accept that answer, because if you can't commit that those FBI agents will be protected from political retribution, we can't accept you as FBI director.
All FBI employees will be protected against political retribution.
Those individuals deserve to be protected from Trump retribution. That was your first test. You failed it.
By saying all FBI employees should be protected?
That is a test of professional diligence, because it is the measure of whether you will stand up and say no to the president if he gives you an unlawful or illegal order. Let me turn to
any professional knows, especially in government service or if you're in the military, whatever, that you don't have to obey orders that are illegal, immoral, or unethical, or unconstitutional, rather. And so, well, yeah, it's illegal, immoral, or unethical, or unconstitutional. Anything like that, yeah, you don't have to obey that. In fact, you're duty bound not to obey that, because we're in the business as conservatives of protecting the Constitution in particular. But the problem is there are people who did some unconstitutional things, did some wrong things, possibly did some illegal things, that there has to be accountability, and the American people have said we want accountability. That's why we put Donald Trump in. That's why we want Kash Patel. That's why we want Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi and these movers and shakers. We want the movers and shakers to disrupt this system. These are outsiders, and the reason that the reaction is so strong is because they seek to disrupt it. And what Senator Blumenthal is saying is any of these people who may or may not have done any nefarious things towards Donald Trump, I want you to promise that you won't fire them. If they did something wrong, they're going to be fired after due process is followed. It's as simple as that. Accountability. It's kind of shocking how opposed to accountability the Democrat Party has become. It really is. Now, this next one is, let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So this one is going to be huge. If this happens, if he is able to make this happen, it will be monstrous. This is Senator Blackburn from Tennessee, my great state of Tennessee. Check this out.
About the Epstein case, I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, earlier, I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this, and I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
Yes. Put down in the comments if you are ready to see this Epstein client list. Just type release it. Release the list. How about that? Just type release the list down in the comments, because I absolutely cannot wait for this to happen. I think so many heads are going to roll, and Kash Patel is not going to be the one who's going to be blocking that. If anything, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But oh my gosh, we need accountability for that. Ghislaine Maxwell went to prison for whatever it is for the rest of her life for trafficking kids to nobody, right? That's the meme that you see on the internet. Ghislaine Maxwell goes to prison for trafficking nobody 3 years ago or 2 years ago, however many years ago it was. Okay, Adam Schiff. This one's going to make you mad, but I'm going to show it anyway. It infuriated me when I watched it. I couldn't believe it. This despicable behavior by Adam Schiff, which is not uncommon for Adam Schiff, but he gets flustered after Kash Patel doesn't buy into his little game here. This is here. Check this out. Watch it.
For director of the FBI, and here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know,
you
my entire
glorified
life,
it in song,
and I did
Mr.
not make
Patel.
a single dime out of
In
it.
song. Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that answer.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Patel. Let me ask you this. If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr. Schiff?
Yes or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
If you were the FBI director and you promoted a song with someone who beat an FBI agent with a pole, would you say you were fit to be FBI director?
Mr. Schiff, I am fit to be FBI director based on my 16 years of government service.
And yet you did all these things, Mr. Patel. You can say, oh, I support law enforcement. I decry violence against.
Okay. I can only handle so much of this guy, but he is this is all theater. He is pure theater. He's no intelligence. He is a despicable human being who is near the embodiment of evil as far as senators go. He is what a horrific, horrific, horrific person. I hope that someday he has a great awakening and realizes that just how despicable his behavior has been in the Senate. We've been watching it for years, and I look forward to his primary challenger, whoever that's going to be. Oh my goodness. I shouldn't have ended on such an angry note. Here, let's listen to, I'll end on one. It's in a happy note, but I think while he's a very despicable person and he's a very sinister person and has proven so over his entire career in the Senate, but let's listen to Mazie Hirono, because I think Mazie Hirono may be the lowest IQ member of the Senate.
Of my committees.
And
since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
She's doing the meme.
No, Senator, I have not.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator, I have not.
Mr. Patel, you have been a champion of the January 6th prison choir. You have stated that the choir's members were, quote, incarcerated as a result of their involvement in the January 6, 2021 protest for election integrity, end quote. And one of the choir members is Julian Cater, who pled guilty. He pled guilty to assaulting officers with a deadly weapon. On January 6th, he attacked Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick with pepper spray, and the next day, Officer Sicknick suffered from 2 strokes and died. Mr. Patel, was Mr. Cater protesting for election integrity? Yes or no?
I don't know who that is.
I'm not asking.
Okay. Yes or no? It was these it's like the kind of the ditzy response, and like puts the upspan on the end of the statement, and like, and this is how it was so rehearsed and routine.
That is, I'm asking you whether, having heard the description of what he pled to, whether he was protesting for election integrity, yes or no?
I don't know who that is.
That is not responsive to my question. You're not willing to say that, but you were willing to describe this choir as consisting of people who were protesting for election integrity, and yet you testify you don't know them. We have heard already your book includes a list of 60 people who you think make up part of the executive branch deep state. Mr. Patel, if confirmed, do you plan to investigate President Trump's former FBI Director Christopher Wray? Yes or no?
I have no plans in going backwards. I have plans in safeguarding.
How about James Comey? Do you plan to investigate him?
Senator, Every investigation will be subject to the same
Do you
legal
plan to
standard.
investigate James Comey, who's on your list?
I have no intentions of going backwards.
How about
and
Bill
every
Barr?
intention of using the Constitution.
How about Bill Barr? Do you plan to investigate him, who's on your executive branch deep state, and you say you're going to ferret out the deep state?
No one
Yes or
that
no?
did not break the law will be
It
investigated.
no answers to any of those.
Okay, so he did answer. If you didn't break the law, he's not going after you. It's that simple. I think maybe she just didn't hear. She's not really there to listen. She's there to repeat whatever script her advisors gave her, whatever the DNC gave her. They say, here's your list, Maisie, just read this. She goes through very robotically and you do this and then this and reads the list like a good girl. And then she goes off and, I don't know, sips coffee in her office for the rest of the day and doesn't really contribute to society. That's my take on it anyway. But yeah, members of the deep state, if he's going to shore this list up, I'm fine with it. If they did something illegal, it's this weird thing that you do something illegal, and if the justice system acts as it's supposed to act and holds you accountable, that's partisan politics right there, right? If it's Bill Barr, I don't know if Bill Barr did anything illegal or not. If he actually did something illegal, then yeah, he's going to have to be prosecuted for it. If Christopher Wray did something illegal, he needs to be prosecuted for it. But because he's the FBI director, they see that this is the two-tier justice system. He's not supposed to be held accountable, right? It's like Hillary Clinton, right? Hillary Clinton shouldn't have been held accountable for having classified information on a server tucked away in her basement. No, because she was a presidential candidate, because she used to be a senator, because she was Secretary of State. She's the next tier up, right? If you go after her, that's politics, even though she broke the law, a lot of laws. And they're saying commit to keeping that standard alive and well, despite Donald Trump being the president, despite you being the FBI director, who's going to be building cases on people. And they would say the same thing to Pam Bondi. Make sure that you're not actually going after them. You're not actually taking action against these people because they're the next tier up. They aren't subject to the same laws that the American people are, or that a soldier who, is in possession of classified information, they're going to get crushed by the system, as well they should. But if you're Hillary Clinton, if you're Christopher Wray, different system. And that's what we're trying to get rid of. That's what Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard, these people they're going to shine a big bright light on a lot of things. I hope. There's going to be some things we still won't know. There has to be some level of security. There has to be some OPSEC. There has to be protection of sensitive information. It's not like we're going to be reading classified briefings on X, every day delivered by Tulsi Gabbard. But the fact is, for these things that have been tucked away and hidden and with no transparency, they're going to deliver it, the things that we are looking for. And that's why these Republicans have to vote for them, because we got the money now. We got the Elon Musks and the like that are going to fund primary challengers for all these senators who don't go the way of that their constituents actually want them to go, that their states want them to go. So there you go. It was a fun day. And, I enjoyed listening to Kash Patel. He impresses me even more. He's sharp when he's on a podcast or when he's just having a regular conversation. He's a relatable guy. And, that's another thing about these folks that they're bringing in. Christopher Wray's not a relatable person. These political, animals that have been running the system for so long, they're not relatable people. They are compartmentalized. They are institutionalized. And the folks that have been into the system and voiced how corrupt and broken it is, and then came out and got, hitched onto the Trump wagon, and Trump plucked them out of, the groups of people who are wanting to fight against this system. He pulled the best and brightest. He pulled them out of there, and now they're making a big difference. He's pulling out relatable people. You feel like you could sit down and have a conversation with a Tulsi Gabbard. You can't sit down and have a conversation with Mazie Hirono, and at least not one that's going to go on for any more than 2 or 3 minutes. So it was a good day. It was a good day, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. Be sure to hit that like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, leave comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you. God bless you. God bless America. And I'll see you later.